long before you knew how to tie your shoes, you learned to stop trusting yourself. Let's unpack how we got there. From well-intentioned adults to religion, to relationships, from culture to society at large, dare I say, patriarchal systems, we were conditioned to doubt our own voice, to minimize our own feelings, to look outside of ourselves for the answers. And it's time that we unlearn that. My name is Frew. I am a coach, an author, and a speaker, and I help women unlearn the conditioning that has kept them stuck in people-pleasing, indecision, overwhelm, decision fatigue, etc., so that they can make decisions that feel best for them. We are no longer living in a life that looks good on the outside. We are living one that feels good on the inside. And while I know if you watch this last video, we talked a little bit about how we lost this connection to ourselves, I'm going to touch base on that again just to start out, because it is really important that you understand that you are not the reason that you first lost connection to your gut intuition. It is important for you to understand this, because then you can stop beating yourself up for times that you didn't listen, for those moments when you got yourself in a situation where we are just doing what we are told to do. We aren't going to beat ourselves up for this anymore. This is what keeps us stuck, is the beating ourselves up. It keeps us stuck in people pleasing. It keeps us stuck in that indecision, keeps us stuck in that overwhelm and all of those things that come along with it. But when we release the guilt and shame, we are able to take back our power. So with this in mind, let's revisit why you were so disconnected from your intuition. You were the first person you were taught not to trust. We were taught that what was innately in us could not be trusted. We were told that our feelings were too much, they were too big, our intuition was wrong, our pain wasn't real, and that actually the fact that we could endure pain and sacrifice was a good thing. That being good mattered more than being real and honest and true about who we are and what we were feeling and what was going on in our lives and how we wanted to dress and how we wanted to do our hair. It was more important to make the person next to us comfortable, to make our parents comfortable, to make the leaders in our church comfortable, people in society comfortable, than being okay and comfortable in ourselves. And in this video, I'm breaking down what happened to start that undoing. The first betrayal that we learned and experienced was when we learned to abandon ourselves. And you didn't stop trusting yourself because you were broken. You stopped because it kept other people safe. It started before we could even talk, before we learned to tie our shoes, before we could dress ourselves. By well-intentioned adults who said things like, it doesn't hurt that bad. You shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't wear that. You shouldn't do your hair that way. No boys are going to like you if you have short hair, or the boys are going to like you too much if you put on those clothes. You should be quiet. That wasn't funny. Be nice. It's okay to hug that person like you need to hug them. They're family. All of these things were told to us, and it was what disconnected us from our own intuition. And it was done by well-intentioned adults, leaders, teachers, and all of these people. But it is what disconnected us from our inner knowing. And then as we grew up and developed, we hit teen years and we learned to adapt. We silenced the truth to avoid conflict or rejection. We wore the shoes, we played the sports, we played the instruments, we conformed so we wouldn't be rejected. But through that time, we were showing ourselves that we were the main person rejecting ourselves. We were the person that it was safe to disappoint. And rather than disappoint ourselves, like we would rather do that than disappoint the other people. And I'm going to say that again because I struggled with it there. But we started out in a way that instead of being rejected by other people, we felt it was safer and more comfortable to reject ourselves. And I love in Gwennon Doyle's book, Untamed, when she shares how she told her daughters she would rather them disappoint her than them disappoint themselves. And now I share this with my teen daughters on a regular basis because I work with women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and I've even had a call with a woman who is 92, who are just now at this time in their lives ready to disappoint other people over disappointing themselves. And it takes a long time to get there because of the conditioning we have received. The understanding that it is better for us to do what is best for us, to not disappoint ourselves, feels selfish, feels scary, it feels not right, it doesn't feel giving. Because we were so trained and conditioned to believe that we were the issue. and that we need to sacrifice and be there for everyone else. And that the most important thing we can do is serve and be of service and sacrifice and not speak of our own pain and our own emotions as they come up. The women that I work with are doing this work and finally realizing that it doesn't matter what they do, someone else will always be disappointed. And so they are going to stop disappointing themselves. You are the only person that you are responsible for not disappointing. And I know that's a hard concept to think of and to embrace and understand how that works when we have spent years of people pleasing, trying not to disappoint our parents, our partners, our kids, our employers, whoever it is. But the truth is we hit a point in life where we are unsatisfied and we aren't happy and we can't figure out what is wrong and why we're feeling this way, and ultimately still disappointing of people when all we wanted to do was not disappoint them. And we come to realize that the main issue is that we were disappointing ourselves all along. And people are going to be disappointed whether they have seen 10 seconds of your life or they have been your best friend for 10 years. It doesn't matter because they aren't you and they can't understand what is best for you because they haven't experienced the things you have experienced. They don't feel the same way you feel. And so once we understand this, that people are going to be disappointed no matter what, whether they've seen those 10 seconds, like on Instagram and social media, when people come at us because they've seen 10 seconds of their life and think they know us, and they're projecting all of their own shit onto us, or whether they've been in our lives for 10 years, they are still going to be projecting that shit. And they're still not going to approve. And they're still going to have this moments where they're disappointed in us. And when we release that idea that we are responsible for that disappointment, then we get to have true freedom. Then we get to do what it is we really want in this world. And we get to feel good and peace and safety. And we get to feel these things we've been craving for so long and thought if we followed the path, we would attain. And so when we release that, we get to have what it is we wanted. And so anyway, that disapproval and disappointment of self keeps amplifying over the years as we are in our teen years. And then we become adults and we want to be that Pinterest mom and we want to do all those things. And when we hit the point where it's not working and we want something different, we start coming back to ourselves. And the women in my coaching group, we were talking about this, how this year they are ready to really step into this knowing that they are going to disappoint other people and they're excited about it. They're also seeing how that is creating safety in themselves, and that is also trickling down to their relationships. And I'm not just talking, when I talk relationships, I am never just talking about our spouses, our boyfriends or girlfriends, or romantic relationships. I am talking about all types of relationships. When you create safety for yourself to be yourself and show up fully as yourself, that trickles down to every relationship in your life. And some people aren't going to feel comfortable or safe enough in their own skin to embrace that. And they're going to push back and they're going to project their own crap onto you. And they're going to say things like, you've changed so much and all of these things because your safety is causing discomfort for them. But as I watch these women in my coaching group who this year they're like, let's go, we are ready to create this safety for ourselves. It is so beautiful to watch. And that is why I'm here doing this work. And that is why you see me in these videos get so passionate when I talk about this. Over the years, I've watched women lead marriages. I have watched women heal marriages by showing up for themselves first. And when I say I've watched this, I have been an integral part of both of these realities because of the women that I coach. I am one of those women. I have done both. I have left a marriage and I have stayed in a marriage. And both times have required the same thing of me. They have required me to be true to myself. When I left my ex-husband after he came out as gay and had an affair with a man, there was still part of me that felt like I should stay. And there's part of me that wanted to stay. I loved this man. We were really safe with each other. I mean, I stayed with him for years knowing he was gay, and I was the only person in his life that knew that for many years. And there was a safety there because we both knew each other deeply and the true versions of ourselves. And it required me knowing who I was to be able to first stay in it as long as I did, and then to know when the time was right for me to leave. and how to create a relationship post-divorce that worked for me. And I was determined, as was he. Luckily enough, we both came together and said, listen, we want to create something beautiful that works for us and that works for our daughter. So she never has to question having her parents in the same room. And people questioned what we were doing, and people called me out, and they tried to tell me I was doing it wrong, and they tried to tell me how I should feel and what I should do and all these things. And ultimately, I just kept coming back and being like, no, I'm going to do this the way that works for me. And I did it in a way that works for me. And now I get to have this beautiful relationship with my ex-husband. He gets to have a beautiful relationship like with my current husband. We all get along, we all can work together, and we share our stories to help other people. And also in my second marriage, when shit hit the fan, as you've probably heard me talk about in the last couple of videos, the thing that saved me in that relationship and ultimately saved my marriage was that I took care of me first. I showed up for myself first. And that created safety in me to stay, and then it created safety in my husband to figure out how he needed to show up in our relationship. And it snowballed, and it became this beautiful thing that I knew we could have in the first place, but it took a couple of years to get there. And now we're 12 and a half years in, and I'm so grateful and so proud of us for what we have created. The basis of your feelings for success, like the amount of success you feel in any area of your life, is proportionate to how safe you feel being you. And I want you to think about that a little more. The amount of success you can feel in your life, in all areas of your life, in whatever it is that you are passionate about and you enjoy, and all of those things, including the amount of rest and your day-to-day life, like how much success you feel in that is proportionate to how safe you feel in being you, in your relationships, your work, your parenting, and in just being yourself. There's so many good quotes from Brene Brown on this, and she has books that talk about this, and I love it. And the research she has done on this is just amazing. And there are a few of her quotes that come to mind as I talk about this that I want you to hear and understand. And also they are great reminders for me every single time because I can't get enough of Brene. These are Brene's quotes, by the way. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Her next one is, the opposite of belonging is fitting in. You are never going to feel like you belong if you are constantly chasing fitting in. It isn't possible. It doesn't work that way. You have to find safety and belonging for yourself, feeling that in you, instead of trying to fit in. Because if you're trying to fit in, you are living into those shoulds. You are living for somebody else. You are doing those other things that somebody has told you is the right way to live or the right way to show up or the right way to dress so that you can fit in. And the last quote that I'm going to share from her today is, true belonging never asks us to change who we are. True belonging requires us to be who we are. And there's nothing in my life that I know to be more true than this statement. True belonging never asks us to change who we are. A partner, a healthy relationship doesn't ask us to change who we are. The job or career that lights us on fire doesn't ask us to change who we are. It might ask us to do new things and to learn new things and to experience life a different way. But true belonging requires us to be who we are and show up that way fully. And my friend, if you are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, undervalued, unseen, bitter, angry, spiraling in indecision, it is all due to the conditioning you received to value others' comfort over your own. And I'm saying you, but this is for all of us. It is due to the conditioning we received to value other people's comfort over our own comfort. And again, if you are wondering how much conditioning you are carrying, and if you are carrying these shoulds, I would really encourage you to go take my free should score quiz. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. And it's going to show you where and how much you are shoulding on yourself. And it is very powerful to see and understand that, because I often think of like the 12 steps. I've done Al-Anon, and also I had a partner who was in the 12-step program. And the first step on both sides of those is acknowledgement. And this is what this quiz helps you do, is to acknowledge where this should is coming up and how much of it you are carrying. How much of that people pleasing are you leaning into? How much of it are you carrying in your day-to-day life? So if you go down below, you can find the link, or you can go to heyjessicafrew.com/quiz, and you can take that quiz for free. It will take you 5 minutes or less, but it is going to give you some of the most powerful information you can have about how to come back to yourself. Because the first step is acknowledging where we are shitting on ourselves. It is acknowledging where that conditioning is showing up. It is acknowledging where we're leaning into that people pleasing. Okay, so now let's jump forward to today. We understand that we've had all this conditioning. We understand that it's not our fault, that we're not going to beat ourselves up for it. But how does this conditioning show up, and what does it look like in your day-to-day life? So many women tell me, because I talk about decision making, that they are great decision makers and they don't carry conditioning. It doesn't impact how they make decisions. But some of the best decision makers that I see are the ones who know how to make decisions quickly because they know how to make them for other people. They know what is expected. They know what needs to get done. They know how to look the part. They know how to people please. Like, if I do X, Y, and Z, then this person is going to be happy. My partner is going to be happy. My parents are going to be happy. And I can just move on, and I don't have to worry about or deal with my discomfort. Or I only have to worry about and deal with my discomfort. I don't have to worry about theirs. I don't have to deal with theirs. And often if you are in a relationship where this is happening on a regular basis, the other person expects you to be uncomfortable. They are looking for you to be uncomfortable so that they don't have to. And that becomes a manipulation and a need of theirs. That is a topic for another day. So in your day-to-day life, here are some examples of how this shows up. Things that you're thinking, things that happen, is when you say yes, when you actually want to say no, and vice versa. So maybe you say no when you actually want to say yes to something, but it's not what you should do, or what your partner wants you to do, or what your employer wants you to do, or whatever, okay? It's not the right thing. It's not the good thing. Doing things to keep the peace, to keep the peace. I don't want an argument. It isn't that big of a deal. It isn't worth speaking up about. It's not worth rocking the boat. That type of thing in your head. Staying in a relationship where you are walking on eggshells. And I'm not just talking about your spouse, your partner, your significant other. I'm talking about all relationships. If there's a relationship where you are constantly evaluating what you need to say and do, then that is not healthy. That is people pleasing. That is the conditioning showing up in you. You are overthinking decisions on a regular basis. You find yourself not being able to make a decision because you're taking too many things in as two considerations when you're trying to make the decisions. Letting life happen instead of doing something about it. Well, this is just the spot I'm in. I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna sit in some of this victimhood and I'm just gonna keep going because there's nothing I can do about it. You're getting everyone else's opinions about what you should do instead of listening to what is in your heart. So you're like, oh, I need to talk to so-and-so and see what they think. And oh, my mom said this, and my dad said this, and my aunt said this, and my best friend said this, and my church leader said this. So that is what I'm going to do. Instead of trusting what is in you, you are going to be nice. You are doing it to be nice at the cost of your own comfort. And I have a quick story here. One night I was out with some friends and we had gone to this local dive restaurant at midnight because that's the only time you went to this local dive restaurant. And we were getting scones. It was midnight. I was with two of my married friends. And so just one of my friends was married. The other two of us were single still at the time. And we're out to the scone place and we're just having like a really fun girls' night out. And my friend, the married one, kept going to the jukebox and like picking songs because she is a music junkie. And every time she did, these guys would come up and talk to her. And one of them like kept touching her and all these things. And she would just like, haha, play along, nah, nah, nah. And after like the third time it happened, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you like letting these guys come up and talk to you? Why do you keep allowing this? And she's like, well, I just want to be nice. And I said, bullshit. This is how we put ourselves in crappy situations. Instead of just turning to these men and being, these men that she's never met before in her life, that she's never going to see again, that she owes nothing to. And spoiler alert, you owe nothing to nobody. Like, you do not owe anything to anybody. She kept letting them come into her space and make her feel uncomfortable and were touching her and she didn't like it. It's midnight at a dive restaurant and she still was just allowing this over and over again. I said, that's bullcrap. You don't need to be nice. Be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself. So you might be doing it because it's nice, or you might be doing it and you're doing it at the cost of your own comfort. Next is we're feeling like we have to do something. Again, it's that should, I have to, this is what you do. And then last but not least, maybe you are leaning into perfectionism, or what I call perfect partner syndrome. If I just show up perfectly, if I check all the boxes, if I do all the things, then my partner will be happy, then the relationship will work, and it just does not work that way. Everybody ends up being miserable when you think you have to lean into perfect partner syndrome. It is exhausting, and that is why so many women are burned out and so tired. Like, you are tired to your core. That is that deep exhaustion we feel where we just want to run away every day. We don't want to wake up to our life, to our relationship, to our job, to parenting, like whatever it is. The ladies in my coaching group, we were just on a call yesterday, and they called this the mental gymnastics. And it really is mental gymnastics. And it really is that exhausting, because you are carrying so much information and taking in so many different things about what you should do, instead of just listening to what is best for you and what your gut intuition is telling you. We are stuck in the mental gymnastics. And this is why life feels overwhelming, unfulfilling, exhausting, and you just want to get away from it all the time. And we feel completely detached from ourselves, and we feel completely detached from our lives, from our partners, from our kids, from our families, from friends, like whatever it is, from our work, from our calling in life. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to feel that detached. You don't have to wake up every morning feeling drained and tired and overwhelmed. You don't have to wake up every morning feel exhausted. You don't have to go to bed at night spiraling about things you need to do, or what you should have said, or how you messed up that conversation. You don't have to live that way. The real cost of your indecision and taking in all of the should isn't just the exhaustion. It is the disconnection from your intuition, from your joy, from your power, and all the things that you love in life. That disconnection costs you, and it costs everyone around you. If you are feeling any of this that I've been talking about, please go pick up my book at shoveyourshoulds.com/free book. Yes, it is free. You just cover shipping, and take that first step towards releasing this overwhelm and exhaustion and disconnection, and start finding your path back to you. The link is also down below if you need it. I don't want you to leave this little video here today sitting in this like heaviness of, oh my gosh, I am sitting in so much should. I've been shooting all over myself. It is stinky and it is gross, and I don't know how to get myself out of it. I want to give you a tangible place to start. First, go take the shit score quiz and go pick up the book. But also, here are a couple things you can do today to start trusting your intuition again. And sometimes when I say that, I'm like, you may have never ever trusted your intuition in your life, and now you get to connect back to it in a way that is stronger and deeper and more beautiful than you've ever experienced. Now, when you are rebuilding trust with yourself, when you are building up this muscle of hearing your indecision, of hearing your gut, of hearing what is best for you, it really is the same way you would build a muscle. It is by keeping promises to yourself and setting boundaries and all of those things. And I believe that keeping promises and setting boundaries are one and the same. And so here are 3 quick ways that you can start building up your self-trust muscle, because we have to keep utilizing it to keep it. And once you start, it gets easier and easier and feels more and more beautiful, and you feel stronger and more confident and deeply connected to yourself, and therefore deeply connected to everyone and all of the things in your life. So number 1, we're going to honor the small no's. We're going to trust the hesitation. So if you feel a hesitation to commit to something, if you feel a hesitation to accept an invite, you are going to trust that. And I had a client, I remember having a deep conversation with her one time about trusting this hesitation. She's like, I'm just feeling like she was dating at the time. She's like, I don't know. It just doesn't, like, I'm dating this guy and there's nothing really wrong and it's fine. And I have no reason to not keep dating him. So I'm just kind of dating him. But there's like this, it's like thing that just, I don't know. And I said, it's a hesitation. There is a hesitation that we have. And when you trust that, it keeps you safe. And you don't have to wait for proof to see why the hesitation is there. We trust the hesitation when it comes up. Stop waiting until proof. Something doesn't have to be horribly wrong for you to justify your actions. I get into this in the book, and I will have another video about this, but it infuriates me that women wait after the hesitation. We feel the hesitation. We feel the hesitation. It's not some big, loud noise, although it gets louder, like we talked about. Your body starts telling you. Though we don't trust this hesitation, we wait for the proof that the hesitation was right, and it gets us into a shit ton of problems every damn time. Start trusting the hesitation. Honor the small no's or the small yeses in your life. The next thing is to follow through on one thing you want to do. What do you want to wear? How do you want to do your hair? What do you want to eat? How do you want to move your body? And I am not talking about like what you've been programmed to believe about what you should wear, how you should do your hair, how you should move your body, what you should eat. I'm talking about what actually feels good and resonates for you, what you actually want. Are you doing your hair because your partner's like, I could never handle it if you cut your hair off, but you have always wanted to cut your hair off? Do the thing that is calling for you. Don't do the thing that you've been programmed to believe unless that is genuine and real for you. The last thing is, these are just three things to do, is to stop asking permission. Pause before you ask for permission. Start hearing and acknowledging where you are asking for permission in your life. And on top of that, stop saying you're sorry for being human. This is something like when I'm in a grocery store or any store and like you bump into somebody or you round a corner and somebody's right there and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they apologize for taking up space, and you will see them like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, stop. You don't have to apologize for that. You just say, oh, thanks, whatever. Like, you don't have to apologize for taking up space. Don't do it anymore. Stop apologizing for being a living human being and for having a body and for having a voice that takes up space. Stop asking permission to be alive and to have a voice. Self-trust is a muscle. You have to build it. Just as if you were working out, it is one rep at a time. That is why we start small. You don't go into the gym and pick up a 15-pound weight and start curling it. At least my frame isn't going to do that. I start with the weight that I can do. And I start doing that. And then when I'm like, oh, this is getting really easy, I build to the next thing. It is the same with trusting yourself and building that decision-making muscle and hearing your intuition and building trust with yourself. It is a muscle you have to build. Don't blow it up out of the water. Start one rep at a time. You can learn more about how to do all these things with my book. Go to shoveyourshoulds.com/free book and pick up your free book today. Just cover the cost of shipping. And here is what is really important that I want you to understand. You are never the problem. You are not the problem, but you were conditioned to believe you are the problem. And that conditioning runs so deep in us. Your gut, your emotions, your knowing, they were never your enemies. They are your guides. And the good news is they have never left you, even when you have been suppressing them and not listening to them for years, or you've been afraid to act on what your emotions and your inner knowing are telling you. You can get back to hearing it clearly and to acting on it. You can start that process by doing those 3 things that we just talked about. Start today. And now that you know where to start and that you were the first person you are not to trust, and it isn't your fault that you don't that you were given this conditioning, it's not your fault. We can release that shame. We can release beating ourselves up about that. Now it's time to learn about, you've heard me talk about this over the last couple of videos, learn about where those feelings of like anger, resentment, and bitterness are really coming from. because they are there. And I think about mine, especially like one of the things I always think of when I think of this is washing the dishes. I don't know why that's where it turns out for me. Well, I do know why, and I'll tell you more in the next video. But like that is when I start being angry and I start gathering some bitterness. I'm just scrubbing those dishes and I'm like, why doesn't anybody else help me? Why am I the only one ever doing this? All of these things. And there's a reason you are feeling that way, and you get to do something about it. So if you are curious as to why those feelings are there and how they're showing up for you, then please go watch this next video where we will be talking about where the anger, resentment, and bitterness are coming from. And it is so powerful because when you understand where they're coming from, you can do something about it. So go check out this next video right here.